welcome to this week's video. On Tuesday, I think it was, I asked you on social media where you feel like most of your diet baggage stems from, right? Whether it's from the media, whether it's from magazines, models, your siblings, friends, parents, kind of just what is it that stands out to you from your childhood that kind of set you on this course for either, I don't want to say being overweight, but kind of having bad habits that created the weight gain, things that you did, things that you believed as you got older, right? Because everything like this is a taught behavior. You're not born knowing how to overeat. You're not born thinking that calorie restriction is the best thing in the world, right? And there were many different factors for me. One of them, my mum and I have spoken about this recently, some of the earliest memories I have of dieting or weight loss, that we always used to have some fast in the cupboard. And it's just those little things that kind of stand out from your childhood, and there's still many things I don't quite understand about where I got them from, things like hiding food. I don't know where I picked that up. But today I want to talk to you about something in particular. It's really interesting. I was tidying up my office today and I came across this book that I was given. It's really dogged. I don't read very often, or I haven't read for, we don't have to go into that. This book was given to me by a friend when I was in high school. I was probably 12 or 13, and I had a friend who, she had a much older sister, and her parents were not strict with her at all. They would allow her to read whatever she wanted and basically act a lot older than she was. And one of the things was she was allowed to read this kind of book. And I remember reading one of the other books. And for my age, it was quite, I guess, graphic. It's not now, but it would have been to a 12 or 13-year-old. And this book in particular, I remember her having 2 copies and she gave it to me. And the book is called Jemima J by Jane Green. It's like, I just chick lit. It's, it's nothing particularly amazing, but this book is probably the only book I have ever read more than 5 times, right? I haven't read it in a long time. I haven't read it since probably, maybe since I've moved out of my house. Since I moved out living with my mum. I probably haven't read it since then. But basically this book, the girl in the story, she's overweight, right? The back of the story, it says Jemima James is overweight, about 7 stone overweight. So the girl in the story is overweight, and she is she's the kind of lady who hears comments like, she'd be really attractive if she just lost the weight, right? People can see that she's, people don't think she's ugly, but she's very overweight, and she knows she's overweight, and she feels unhealthy. And there's parts in the story that talk about her binges. She has 2 very skinny flatmates, and they talk about the comparison of what they eat, and I think it's described as like a spread of hummus on a piece of cucumber. And she talks about ordering pizza and ice cream and then telling the pizza guy that she's got friends coming over, and how he looks at her really sadly because he knows it's not true. But basically there's a guy in the story, of course it's always a guy in the story, but there's a guy in the story who she works with, who she really loves, and she just doesn't think he's ever gonna want to be with her because she's overweight. Something clicks. I can't quite remember what happens. I'm actually going to read it again, but something clicks in her head, and she joins a gym, and she's really scared and intimidated, and she starts going, and it becomes this obsession. It's like she replaces food and binges with exercising and not eating, basically. And she's eating, but she's eating very little, and she loses weight, and she loses weight really quickly. In amongst all this, of course, it's a fictional novel, so she meets a guy from LA online. It was in the age of when online dating just kind of first came about, so she meets a guy online and he falls in love with her, and then towards the end of the story she finds out that he has a thing for an overweight girl, but because he lives in LA, he cannot be seen with her. And after she finds this out and she's heartbroken, she goes on a binge, and she talks about unbuttoning her denim shorts and feeling her stomach distend, and then she vomits, and it's very graphic, and whilst it is a fiction novel, it's also, you know, it's not unheard of. It's not like people don't do that. It's not, I'm not, you know, the LA and all that stuff, but, you know, it's not like we don't think we're overweight, and it's not like we don't then go on a binge and we kind of make an excuse knowing that person doesn't believe us. We have people around us who are maybe slimmer, and we kind of feel like they're treated differently compared to us. We're awkward, you know, things like that. And this is a generalization, but for a 13-year-old to have read this book, and I feel like, you know, it stood out to me for so many years. I read this book repeatedly through my teens. And in the end, it's a happy ending. She ends up like a size 12 or 14 or something, and she marries the guy in the beginning of the story. But this was like something that I read. It was like my weight loss Bible for so many years. I read this, and so of course I thought that yes, you could lose a ton of weight and you could be skinny, but I also knew that at the end of the story, she was a size 12 to 14 and she was normal. And you know what's interesting to me? When I was younger, I'm talking about when I was kind of 16, well, 16 I was quite slim, I don't know, in my late teens, early 20s, it was never about being a size 0, it was never about being a size 8, it was never about even being a size 10. It was just about not being overweight. It was just about not having to shop in plus size shops. It was about being able to shop in quote unquote normal stores. It was about being able to go into a store and know what size you are. That was what appealed to me. It was never about being skinny. And whilst I ended up being quite slim a few years ago, that happened because I seen the results. That was never my intention. And it got me thinking whether that stemmed from, you know, the result of this book, whether it sounds crazy or not. I read this so often that she ended up being a size 12 to 14 and she married the man of her dreams and she lived happily ever after. And I just wonder whether so much of my vision of healthy stemmed from that. I never wanted to be a size 0. I never cared about being skinny or being tiny. I mean, it just never stood out. So I just wanted to feel normal. And I just wondered how many other people feel that way or have felt that way. You know, it's not about being the smallest person. It's not about losing all the weight. It's just about feeling normal. And the link to fat loss here is that I believe fat loss strategies make you feel normal, right? You can eat like a normal person. You don't have to go on a restriction. You don't have to binge. You don't have to be constantly worrying about what your next meal is going to be or how many calories did you just eat. You can go out for lunch and have a glass of wine and not feel guilty about it and not feel like the world is ending. And I genuinely believe, you know, whether this book has any relevance at all to it, that a fat loss strategy allows you to be normal. It allows you to get to that place where you're like, I don't really need to be the slimmest I've ever been, but I want to feel healthy. I want to feel like myself. And that's kind of, you know, that's what really stood out to me, is that whilst there are many things that I hung on to for many, many years, and this book, I completely forgotten about this book, but this book being one of them, at the end of the story, she's happy, and she's not, you know, the slimmest. She's not tiny, but she's healthy and she's happy. And, you know, I guess that's kind of what I want to tell you, is that that's really what it should be about. I get that we have physique goals. I'm not putting down people who work so hard to do competitions, but we don't all have the same goals. We don't all want to be physique competitors. If you do, that's awesome. Go do that. But I'm not the right coach for you. For me, it's just about being able to live, right? And living normally, and not living my days feeling like I'm not good enough, and not living my days feeling like I always want more, both with food and with myself. I'm satisfied. So yeah, so So this was not the video I had planned for today at all. But as I said, I came across this book, and it got me thinking. It got me thinking about those things that stand out to us, that diet baggage that we hang on to. And whilst, you know, there's certain things I would have picked up from this book that probably are not healthy, there are things I picked up that weren't so bad. I want to end this video with what I learned this week. You may have seen, I don't know if I shared it on Facebook, but you may have seen that I am trying to eliminate dairy from my diet. So what I've learned this week is there is a hell of a lot of dairy in things that I don't really think about. I'm also going to I'm going to remove onion from my diet. I eat a lot of onion, and I've been reading a lot about like FODMAP diets. I'm not going to try and explain to you what FODMAP stands for. Google it, because I don't even know half of the words, how to pronounce them. I think saccharide is in there. That's probably the only one I can remember. But yeah, trying to remove dairy is proving more difficult than I thought. But I've tried non-dairy cream this week and non-dairy cheese, and both of which are delicious, so I'm happy. Dining out is interesting. And then, as I said, onions as well. So yeah, what I've learned this week is that it is doable. And I need to stop saying I'm trying to remove it, because I am removing it.